And hello, everyone. We are now live on the Fluid Voice. I am your co-host, Ileani Clark, and this is going to be episode 7 of our show. I am going to be talking with the ever-pleasant Jen Aldridge from the ACA. And as always, I am very, very fortunate to be on the show with 3 amazing people. And today's topic, we're going to be talking specifically of secular humanism and trans identity. Now, typically, Jen, I know this is your first time on the show, but we generally like to do introductions. And since you're very, very kind enough to be on our show, tell us a little bit about yourself, Jen.
I'm Jen Aldridge. I'm one of the hosts of Godless Bitches on the ACA AEN network with V. LaBianca and Jenna Belk. I also have my own channel called The Atheist Wine Down on YouTube, where it's me drinking wine and ranting about shit. So that's always fun. I'm here today to mainly learn. I'm not a trans woman. I'm not a trans person. I've tried my hardest for years to be a trans ally, and I'm always I want the world's point of view from someone who actually is trans so that I can learn to be a better ally to help, because I understand that your voices aren't going to be heard. And I understand that I'm in a position for my voice to be heard, to give you guys the stage so that your voices can be heard and your needs can be heard and your needs can be met and your rights can be met. So I'm here to learn a lot today, because I know the social structure of everything is always ever changing, especially now.
And I think that's one of the most important prospects in regards to the biggest. See, one of my favorite sayings is the concept of identities matter. And that could be someone's identity in regards to their gender, that could be their sexual identity, that could be their political identity. Everyone's perspective, in my opinion, should be respected and heard. But at the same time, if you don't agree with them, at least approach it at an honest perspective. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Real quick, if I can just. So I wanted to also introduce my co-host. So Christy, how have you been doing this week? Have you been doing well?
Been doing pretty well. I'm cleaning a lot. I'm doing a lot of cleaning finally. Yeah.
How did your event go, Christy? With Planned Parenthood, that little the performance you're going to do.
Oh no, that's not until the 14th.
I apologize, everyone. That's my mistake, my bad memory. So I apologize to everyone. Real quick.
No, I'm talk about it a lot. I'm there for it.
And of course, how are we doing? Perfect. How are we doing tonight, sir?
Doing pretty good.
And
once again, I plan on learning, but I have a perspective.
And that's why I regard you as our resident outsider, Perfect, because your perspective is always welcome in regards to your unique views in reference to the topics we cover. And also, of course, we have my good friend Alex, also known as Ozma in the Dark. How are we doing, Alex?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm
kind of out and about, right?
Well, everybody's cutting out just at the beginning of the show. There we go.
So let's cover the very first question. So I guess by a drawing of this question, who here considers themselves a secular humanist in regards to their own political ideology? You can do it by a raise of hand, or I guess better question is, what do you consider secular humanism from your own unique perspectives? Since you're our guest here, Jen,
I like that.
Can you go ahead and share what's your perspective on secular humanism?
I really like that question. Like, nobody ever asked that question, ever. I consider secular humanism, the human perspective. You're more concerned with the human condition, but you don't base it on a moral of religion, faith. That's not your moral basis. Your moral basis is outside of that. So I'm kind of a prescriptivist sometimes, and I'm awful about it. So I hear like secular humanism, and I'm like, oh, it's humanism from a secular-based perspective. That's okay.
And see, one of the fascinating things, because I have a background in history, and I actually went to school, good jazz, but one of the fascinating things is if you actually look at the historical facets of humanism, they've always been having some type of innovated concepts of basic principles strictly on the basis of humans.
Right.
A lot of the earliest humanists, even if they were fundamentally Christian, a lot of their perspectives were coming from how we could derive our own conclusions in regards to societal standards, laws, and norms strictly on the basis of human understanding and reasoning. And they still have the implications of the supernatural. But I think it's one of the fascinating things, but we can go into that in a little bit about...
I was going to say, I know a bit about the evolvement of going from nomadic to actual societies. So, and there's ties into humanism with that as well as we were coming up through. So, yeah, you and me are going to have a blast tonight with this.
So, just to, like, we typically do a round robin here, Jen. So, I always like to give everyone a fair perspective. So, Christy, what, or Perfect, or Alex, do you guys have a perspective on secular humanism?
I'll be quick on mine. My perspective is I haven't looked into enough the ethics now, and I tend to be a big fan of some form of consequentialism, but I haven't quite figured out what, and like it probably overlaps at some point, but I just don't know.
Fair enough. I do know that one of the things that me and you both share in regards to our own perspective, Alex, is that, as you said, you're a consequentialist, as am I. We try to promote the best well-being in regards to the least amount of consequences. Would you generally agree with that?
Yeah, I tend to lean more towards negative utilitarianism, which is least amount of harm, as opposed to utilitarianism, which is the most joy. But, obviously there are various circumstances where that doesn't work super well. I don't know. I haven't sorted everything out.
Understandable. What about Perfect and Christy? Feel free, whoever wants to chime in.
Perfect first,
Well,
because I'll tell them.
Basically,
Please, Perfect.
No, please. I'll tell a story like I usually do.
okay. Basic secular humanism, and that it's the deriving your morals from a secular source. That however you manage to do that, that's basically one of the large indicators. Yeah, I would count basically, and then would attach that to me. I try and avoid that. So if you want to know more about me, you got to talk.
And I think that's one of the things that we're going to be able to do in our discussion of secular humanism and trans identity is hopefully we can approach each individual's perspective in regards to how there is a tendency of overlap between both notions of trans or intersectionality between both concepts. So, Christy, go ahead. The floor is yours. What is your perspective on secular humanism?
Well, because I usually start with a story, I'll do that. Soon after 9/11, I was working in a warehouse, and one of the truckers started berating a guy in a turban, and just like yelling at him and blaming him for everything that happened on 9/11. Now, first of all, the guy was a Sikh. He wasn't Muslim, but irrelevant. That I didn't step in and say anything, and I just sort of felt stuck there. It was just the three of us in the small room. That I didn't say anything is something that haunts me, and the not standing up for my fellow humans is one of the things that I got from that. That's something I would never do again, is not stand up for my other people.
That's funny, Christy. I discovered my humanism right after 9/11 too. I lived in New York City when it happened. I am a New Yorker. I lived in New York City, and the day is still a thing for me. But it was how everyone came together, and we kind of looked around and we're like, how do we make sure this never happens again? And I think that's where my atheism kind of started turning as well.
My atheism started with that, yeah.
Right.
Very much so.
Yeah, see, I'm actually very embarrassed to admit this, but I didn't consider myself a adherent to secular humanism until roughly a few years ago. I don't know if you know this about myself, Jen, but I'm pretty open about it. So I used to be a reactionary by every facet. I used to be an alt-right, race realist type of individual for many years.
Ooh.
Yes, it was really bad. Really
And
bad.
that is why I divorced my ex-husband.
Well, no, but the thing about it is we can go into it another time. But I had just unique situations that came up in my life that led me to where I'm at today. But one of the things that I look back now in regards to the concepts of secular humanism that I try to adhere to now is forgiveness, is going back and looking at the mistakes you made and trying to imply those mistakes and try to learn from them and apply them to our current day understanding of how we should treat other people. And I think empathy is the core function when it comes to secular humanism. And one of the biggest lessons I learned from studying this philosophy is learning about empathy and how it can be such a powerful tool in regards to our influences, interactions with other people. And that's, again, my perspective from my own past. But I guess the very next question I would ask is in reference to secular humanism, in reference to the trans community, in what ways do you guys think it applies in regards to intersectionality between one ideology and the next? I'm not saying trans ID is an ideology per se, but how do you feel that transgender individuals intersect with potentially with secular humanism?
Well, I mean, we've got to say the obvious. Secular part of transgenderism. This being transgender is completely a big no in any kind of religion that you're going to come across. So you have to immediately, when you're trying to identify with trans individuals, you have to immediately come out of that religious perspective, because everything about that's going to tell you that you're wrong. To me, and please don't mind the banging in the next room, my kid wants to be a bowling superstar, and my poor wall is the victim of that dream.
We won't hold it against you.
When it comes to humanism, to me, humanism, one, like you said, was empathy, but two is identifying and trying to identify with people that are in situations that you wouldn't understand. And when it comes down to trans people, I don't want to, pull you guys out and kind of isolate you guys, but you guys have a very unique perspective on the world, especially with the way that society's changed over the last 20, 30 years. So you have to pull yourself out of religion. You have to pull yourself into this humanist perspective to understand a group of people that have been horrifically victimized, horrifically beat down, in order to identify and want to do better for this community.
Yeah, and if I can also add on to that, and one of the things I do generally agree in regards to your perspective is in regards to someone's intrinsic identity. There is such a massive influx of ideology built around against this form of demographic of individuals. Now, I do want to be fair here, Jen. As I mentioned in our conversation from a while ago, one of the things that I generally disagree with some individuals within our circles is there's some individuals that make the claim that you have to identify a specific way to be able to embrace or generally understand what it means. I've seen that's a talking point from some individuals. Not saying, I'm not going to name drop, but I've seen that. But when I see these comments from certain individuals, I disagree with them. Because to me, one of the problems I see from this perspective, I understand where they're coming from. Someone who has this identity, it's incredibly important to be able to correlate with what it means. But the other facet is, how do you know an individual such as yourself or someone who's not within this spectrum, what if they have a family member? Or what if they have some type of external to themselves situation that they may be directly correlated with this form of identity, with this form of community? And because of that correlation, I would gladly argue that a lot of people would understand empathy, especially if you're within the secular community, in regards to individuals with this such identity. But again, that's my perspective.
Well, yeah, I can't sit here and say that I identify with you guys, that I fully understand what any of you, because I'm not. a trans individual. I can empathize and attempt to pull out of myself and try to see the world through your experiences and through watching the people that I care about go through it. But I can't turn around and say, I completely understand what the trans community is going through because I'm not a trans woman. I'm not a trans individual, you know?
And I think that's where the human empathy is so important. But please feel free, guys. Do you guys, anybody want to chime in on what me or Jen has said so far?
One of the just I'm gonna side note it again, but one of the more interesting things is finding the male privilege to be a thing. When you give it away, it's one of those things that's one of those things that is impossible to understand unless you've gone through it. There's a few different things that I don't think most people would understand other than intellectually. I mean, people can be empathetic and be intellectual about it, and this is great. But there's some things, I do think there are some things that can't be understood unless
Of
it's
course. I mean,
Go ahead, please, Jen.
I've lived my life as a cisgendered woman, so I've always been used to being viewed as a woman. I don't know. Now, granted, I do have other privileges. I'm white. I am no longer living in poverty. You know, I have other privileges. But you're right. I don't know how I could feel, you know, being a man and having that male privilege and then not. I can't imagine what that kind of shock would be like.
Yeah,
I can tell you that male privilege is a real thing. A lot of people don't believe.
And Christy, if I can just add this, I generally agree with your position on this, but at the same token, you have to also admit that human empathy is a very powerful thing. Yes, you cannot directly correlate with a person's perspective in an intrinsic way. But one of the things that as I mentioned, that I have issues is that there are certain demographics, certain individuals that will make the claim that that certain individuals who are not with this identity can't relate at any facet relating to this type of experience. That's
just ridiculous.
I've seen that talking point, though, to be honest.
I stay away from those people. I mean, I'm pretty ensconced in trans Twitter, so those people don't make it to my follow list.
And like I said, I don't think that they're the majority of individuals. I think they're a very, very small fringe minority. Some people do make that. What about you, Perfect and Alex? Do you guys have a perspective on that, or?
I don't think that intersection is caused by the trans position. I think it's societal. I think that people are told that if you are you are not being moral, and they don't accept that, and therefore, okay, so what is my moral compass?
Please continue, Perfect.
And then start defining it, and they end up with secular humanism. Similar to that, a branch of that, but they're finding some form of secular moral compass.
I do apologize. I do want to apologize to you, Perfect, real quick. You are slightly breaking up. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Yeah, I thought it may have been just me. So.
No, I just didn't want to be rude because just in case it caught up. But Perfect, I just wanted to give you a heads up. So go ahead and try to finish what you were saying, Perfect. I apologize.
I think that's just.
Oh, the joys of live streaming.
Oh, yeah.
Still not coming through
we're
well?
Still here, Perfect. Well, let's be fair here, Perfect. Let's give it a little time to catch up. Let me get to Alex real quick, and we'll get back to your perspective. Okay?
I just wanted to apologize real quick of the child and
Jen,
yeah.
that's
Don't
right.
apologize. Stop apologizing for that. I'm the one who apologizes on the
let's
show.
apologize for like everything for the next.
The wanting to be a
15
bowling
minutes.
star horrifically backfired on my son's shin. So, yeah.
So let's give. I'm going to give everyone a chance to share the perspective. Hello, Alex.
Could you repeat the statement?
Absolutely.
There was
So
a little bit of like me trying to get back into the house, so I missed a little bit.
Absolutely, Alex. So basically, the question was, in what ways do you feel that when it comes to secular humanism, there is a cross-section or intersectionality when it comes to transgender individuals, trans identity, the trans community, so on and so forth?
I'm not sure. I mean, at least in terms of religion, I mean, there are less reasons to be religious when religion is oftentimes taught in such a binary way. But I mean, it depends on the person's views on secular humanism to see if there's intersectionality, because sometimes people are just hardcore utilitarianism and just want what makes the majority of people happy, and transgender individuals are not the majority.
Understandable. I guess.
And then,
real quick,
do we have to touch on the turfs? Do we have to? Do you guys want to get that out of the way?
Well,
please.
We can go into that in like the later half of the show. We can go into the open discussion. But I just generally want to show respect to what the topic is of secular humanism, because I think it's such an important aspect that not many people on social media really discuss, other than the select like the ACA does. But other than outside of that, not many people talk about it. I want to give Perfect one more chance. Perfect, did you get a chance to, did you want to share your perspective one more time so we could give you a fair shake?
I think I've gotten a fair shake. I was saying that I thought it was forced on them. It was a forced move in society as a whole now. That they are, because they they then have to find a system of morality that exists outside of.
I'm going to assume he was going to say outside the standards of probably supernatural or religious belief. Do you think that sounds about where we're going to?
Church.
Although, to be perfectly honest, a lot of sorry. Go ahead. To be perfectly honest, a lot of religious people can be secular humanists as well. The church is for saving the souls. The everyday life is for saving the people. The person I used to live with wore. This is before I came out. Wore a T-shirt to her church, much to the chagrin of the people there, that said, "I'll pee with you," when all the bathroom bills were going around.
I love that.
And if I can just emphasize exactly what you're saying, I generally agree with you as well, Christy. So I had a really great discussion with one of our future guests that we're going to have here in a couple weeks, Jen, by the name of Kelowna. She's a polytheist. She's well known among the.
I know her. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, so she's
Honey's
going to be on
awesome.
our show in a couple weeks. She's been kind enough to say she will be on. But I actually agree with Christy's perspective on this. To me, this is one of the reasons why I haven't. Again, this is just my perspective. People can disagree. This is one of the reasons why I don't claim the title of anti-theist. Is because And again, this is not to denounce that people who have this perspective are incorrect. I just disagree with their position, and we can have a discussion on it. But the reason why I don't have this notion of anti-theism is because when it comes to individuals such as that, they're very inclusive. They have, again, belief structures that I generally disagree with, and I will happily have discussions with them on why I disagree. But at the same token, I can't equate them to the harmful ideology that you would get in the Abrahamic faith. It's just something I cannot do.
And this is something that I come up against an anti-theist, and I'm like, are you anti-theist? Are you anti-theism, or are you anti-monotheism? And then I have to kind of get into what's the difference, and then I have to sit here and explain. And I'm like, I have a whole community on Twitter that can probably explain this shit way fucking better than I can. But that's another. To me, faith is a personal thing. I don't care if people believe in gods. I don't care if the thought of gods exists. Your ability to believe in your God ends at my nose. And as long as you're not hurting other people with it, believe what the fuck you want to believe. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your sentiments, but I want to give everyone a chance. Do you guys generally consider you guys, I think if you guys have shared this, but I want to make sure everyone gets a fair chance to put in this perspective. Christy, Perfect, Alex, do you guys consider yourselves like anti-theist for all beliefs in reference to your identity, or do you just, like Jen mentioned, just monotheism and such? But go ahead.
Well, me and Perfect need to have a discussion about anti-theism maybe sometime.
That's something I would love to see you guys do on, like Christy and Perfect had a great discussion recently. I would love to see you and Perfect have a discussion on this, Alex. But please continue.
Yeah, I've just gotten overwhelmed by all this stuff I need to get done. Luckily, things are going to start cooling off and being less stressful soon, so I should be able to get more done. I'm still behind on a video that I've been trying to or for.
In general, I've called myself anti-theist in belief, and since I'm humanist in practice, I can't fault someone for having the beliefs, as long as it's not toxic beliefs. The person, as a matter of fact, the person I'm having my interview this week is with somebody who was a Christian, turned atheist, got like popular because of that, lost all of her subscribers because she converted back to Christianity, and which, you know,
it's not something you see every day.
I've been hearing that perspective, but I want to make sure. Well, I want to get back to that real quick that you just said, Christy. But I want to make sure before we go into that. What do you have a perspective on this, or do you guys want to just like, or on this Perfect, or do you guys want to save it for your potential discussion between you and Alex?
Well, I think that you've come up against a failing reality to society as a whole when you start in.
Yeah, we keep losing Perfect.
Yeah.
There's a lot
We're
come through.
You keep breaking up. It happens, guys. I apologize. We don't want
It's
to
technology. Yeah, it happens.
I had a fail, but now it's.
Yeah, so let's be fair. Let's be fair, Perfect. So I would gladly, happily endorse a discussion between you and Alex, because I think you guys would have amazing takes on this perspective that you guys have had earlier last week. We'll just save that for that.
Just let me know when that's happening, because I want to reserve the time to put it on like the 65-inch in the living room, like grab food and like
Alex,
sit and hang out and watch this.
See, for me, one of the great things I love about Alex and Perfect for me is a great perspective when it comes to secular humanism and non-belief in general. But Alex has a great perspective as well, coming from her own background. So this is one of the reasons, Alex, I really look forward to that discussion between you and Perfect if it does happen. Because, yeah.
Oh yeah. By the way, like, I know I didn't get a chance to mention when I started to consider myself an atheist, because it's dealing with getting over here. But that was back in high school or shortly after. I just sort of, I was raised with Judaism, and once you kick that out, it kind of kicks out everything. Like, once you're just like, God, that doesn't sound like it makes sense.
Yeah, one of the fascinating things that actually happened recently, Jen, is me and Alex was kind enough to do a video with me, and where we spoke on the 6 different genders within Judaism. Alex was correct by denoting how 5 of them were based upon the perceptions of intersex conditions. Yet there was a 6th called, what was it, Mum or Num? What was it called, Alex? Do you remember? It was Mum or something like that.
It's Mum. I'm pretty sure it's Mum. I grew up with a very Orthodox Jewish neighborhood directly down the block from me, so a lot of my friends were actually Orthodox Jewish. So Judaism is kind of like, oh wait, I kind of know this. Like I can talk about this. Okay, I think it's a Mum.
That would be a great discussion between you and Alex.
I didn't study the Tanakh much, but I was raised under Reform Judaism, which is better than Orthodox Judaism because it is less likely to have voted for Trump.
You said it. I mean, I know many friends that I grew up with that are like Trump going for it.
Judaism, and then like almost very few Reform Jews. Which is why Ben Shapiro shits on Reform Judaism.
I would actually like to sit down and have a conversation with Alex, hopefully on my channel, once I can get the guest thing going, about leaving the Jewish faith, but being ethnically Jewish. How that?
I would say culturally Jewish, because my parents...
Culturally, yes. I should say culturally.
My dad grew up with Seventh-day Adventism, and my mom grew up with Lutheranism. I thought Catholicism because my aunt converted Catholicism from Lutheranism. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's a conversation I'd like to have is separating, because you can leave the faith. I'm a former Catholic. I can leave the faith, but I'm culturally American. So my culture, with my family, I was culturally Italian. So there was a little bit of faith, but Judaism is so tied culturally within its religion that I've always...
Well, yeah, but I mean, also it's different from a lot of America. There's a lot of assumed Christianity that I didn't...
My whole family is assumed Catholics, so I know it.
But yeah, no, this is wildly off topic, and
we're going down the rabbit hole.
I promise you guys, I will remember this. I will get back to it. So during the second half of the show, so I'll be happy to let you correlate with that. So I guess my most important question that I came up with, that I think that a lot of people will enjoy in reference to this question, is when it comes to the notions of secular humanism. I believe that every form of philosophy or ideology can be perfected, could be improved. So from your guys' own unique perspective, what do you feel would be appropriate measures or steps that can be taken when it comes to the philosophy or the ideology of secular humanism to possibly, not saying this is not the case today, but possibly improve its treatment? That sounds like with bad connotation, but more like its basis of transgender individuals in regards to their identity. What ways do you guys think it's a way that secular humanism can be better inclusive toward those type of individuals?
Listening skills.
Fascinating.
We're it's a really weird time in the U.S. right now. You know, you've got two very polar opposites, absolutely like Hunger Gamesing each other for human rights. And it's created this immediate defensive need to scream and be heard. And no, because a lot of us feel I am a member of the LGBT community. I consider myself queer in my sexual identity. So a lot of us are feeling like our lives are on the line at this point. So everyone's just yelling and screaming, trying to get heard. And then it's turning into well, they're talking about my life this week, so my life is more important and you need to be quiet. We need better listening skills. We need to be able to sit down within our own community. One, kick this, if you're not with us, you're against us, fucking outrage brigade bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
We're not all going to agree on the same thing. We're fucking human. We're human. And if you lock yourself inside this echo chamber, what are you learning? What are you learning? If you're surrounded by a bunch of yes men that are going to, crawl up your ass for every fucking idea that you got. We need to learn how to listen to each other better. We need to, I love saying, okay, I am a member of the LGBT community, but I am not transgender. I don't identify as a lesbian, and I want to understand how kind of everything we're going through as this umbrella of the community, what your take on it is and what your fears on it are, because I'm sure they're very different than mine. I am nowhere near as threatened as a trans woman would be. We need to listen to each other, and we need to understand, yes, we're going to have a few disagreements about it, but this guilt by association, cutting everybody off, creating your own little isolationist group, you're doing the same fucking thing that they're doing what they want us to do. They want us to isolate out. They want us to bicker out by each other, and they want us not to listen because then we can't get fucking organized.
And I concur with you when you said. I just want to say this real quick, and you may disagree with my position on this.
Sure.
I agree that I don't like doing guilt by association at all. One of the things I absolutely hate is ascribing positions to someone without conclusive evidence. That's one of my biggest things that you see on social media. But one of the things I made videos on, and again, this is not to attack anybody specifically, but there are certain individuals within the skeptic community that do this, and there's a conflation. And I want to be very clear here. When it comes to criticisms of promotion, signal boosting, or amplification of bad ideas, that's completely good faith criticism. So right. I agree that guilt, if like, for example, if there's an individual you're friends with, and let's say they're conservative, they have some really bad takes. If you say, oh, you agree with their notions, you agree with their ideas, you share their perspective, strictly by association, absolutely they're wrong. That's bad faith. But if I criticize someone for example, amplifying a bad idea of someone, which clear evidence can be presented that this is the case, and I'm not criticizing them because of their association, but I'm criticizing on the morality of them doing no form of pushback or just nonchalant. Again, I have no evidence that maybe these corrections are being done privately. I don't know that. I don't have clairvoyance. I don't have mind reading. Right. The only thing I can determine on this is from public displays. So until I have some form of perception that this type of correction has occurred, my gears in my head are churning. I'm stuck.
Understandable.
So my point is, this is a criticism that I see a lot of individuals conflate. Criticisms of promotion and amplification of bad ideas from other individuals with guilt by association. And I just want to be clear, they're not the same thing.
No, they're not the same thing. And when it comes down to, I mean, we all know what I'm associated with, and I'm sure we've all heard the stories. But my thing is, instead of lumping it in and saying, well, this person's a transphobe, this person's anti-LGBTQ, because maybe we've had somebody on our shows, maybe we enjoy other aspects of somebody's work and don't agree with other aspects of it. Ask them and listen. Ask the person that you're questioning and say, hey, you're kind of platforming this person and I have some concerns. I need to know, I want to know where you stand on this. Ask the person.
Oh,
don't just, and that's what I mean by listening skills. You may find that, yes, some people disagree on this, but they also may have another great message. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some members of the skeptic community that need to just go away. And go bye-bye, and there's like, you keep looking for that redeeming shit, you just can't find it. And you're like,
and
okay,
we know who most of those are.
Yes. Yes. And there's a new one every month, apparently. But
And as always, real quick, Jen, and I like to try to be when it comes to the round robin type of discussion. I want to give everyone a chance, but Christy, Alex, Perfect, do you guys have any perspective on what me or Jen have said so far?
Honestly, yes. One of the things that I found, and I'm an outsider by trade anyway. One of the reasons for having such a short stick for everybody is we've, and I felt this too, and this I can't talk about it, but we start to come from a position of not trusting anybody because it's hard to know who to trust. And when even my aunt, her first reaction to me coming out was, "So you're going to mutilate yourself?" And my favorite aunt is no longer my favorite aunt.
I'm so sorry.
She has since sent me a rainbow scarf, so I think she's trying to make up. But by her, I automatically thought, okay, her section of the family is gone, and we have to do that in order to protect ourselves, and I don't like it. But I don't see any way around it. I have to talk about this a little bit. There was a lot of guilt by association in this last year that messed up a lot of people, including and broke up the trans community itself, which I managed to stay on both sides. Even back when I somehow managed to stay in people's good graces, even when you mentioned the Outrage Brigade, Seth mentioned me as one of the Outrage Brigade way back, and yet we still maintain an okay relationship. So,
yes, that's cool like that. Seth does that.
See, one of the biggest facets for me is context matters. You have to look at the context of someone's character. You have to look at their previous talking points.
Yes.
You have to look at the characteristics of how someone portrays themselves in regards to their perspectives in reference to political things, when it comes to social and economic issues. You have to take it all into it. For me, the biggest thing I can say about it, and I've mentioned this many times, you got to give people enough rope to hang themselves with. If you don't, you don't give them a chance to prove your opinion to be correct. Go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead, Christy.
We tried to keep J.K. Rowling way too long.
Yeah, well, we tried. Oh, we tried. We so tried. But exactly what you're saying. You have to give a person enough rope to hang themselves, because if you don't, then you turn into the lynching mob.
Yeah.
That's something that I say to people often.
But real quick, so I'm going to go ahead, please, Alex or Perfect. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what I was going to say is, Jen, to your statement, I think what people do matters a little bit more than what they say. So if they're like, you can talk to anyone, but there's something about promotion where you're just like, I disagree with this person, but at the same time, I think they made a really good video about this. If you do that enough times, it starts to be like, do you just not care? Because the thing is, if you have a platform, there's a certain with the power of having a platform, there's responsibility. Totally original line, but you shouldn't just kick everyone down on on knee-jerk stuff, because obviously that's bad, and you can help prevent conversations from happening. And if you don't have conversations, and you just make an echo chamber, you're not going to change anyone's mind. Right. And if you don't change anyone's mind, then shit's going to get worse.
Absolutely.
And especially reactionaries and stuff are going to paint everyone by that brush, and if people don't experience other people who aren't that way, who aren't like a knee-jerky, this person's bad, so you need to, immediately block them. And I'm just like, there are people I have blocked on Twitter that I'm pretty sure are groomers or, abusive people.
Or dangerous, right?
Yeah, because I don't want to accidentally platform a charismatic person if I know that they're bad. And it's a lot easier to do that when they're blocked. But like sometimes people are just like, yeah, this person. There's something recently where a person got mistaken for someone else who was a rapist, and then they got shit on for that, and they got blocked by a friend on Twitter over like an accusation that was based off of a mistake.
Right. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about with that one.
Probably not. Probably not. This was like a relatively minor person that I was just mutuals with. But like, I'm sure it's happened to more than one person.
That's yeah.
So, real quick, so I want to make sure so we can go. Perfect. Do you have a perspective on this? Hopefully, it doesn't lag.
I think we're off using smoke signals at this point.
Oh.
I'm so sorry. Perfect. You want to try?
I'm in Discord.
Yeah, it's Discord. And I just really quick want to say, Christy, thank you for sharing that. I understand how personal and hurtful it was. And this is why I wanted to come on, because I wanted, when you're within an organization, you hang around the same people all the time, you do kind of wind up in this echo chamber. And I never want that to happen. So that's why I wanted to come on tonight. I wanted to hear these different perspectives, and I want to grow myself from it. So that with what both Christy and Alex have said, I'm like going to go back and do some like hardcore thinking on my position now. And this is exactly, again, that's another thing I think we need to do in the secular humanist community is, the woke, we're so woke. And a lot of the time that digs our heels in the ground and we're like, no, we're fucking right. And that's it. And there's not a lot of room for growth. You think, okay, I'm woke to all this shit and yada, yada, yada. And I know what I'm talking about. And this is my position, and boom.
So kind of like to add on to the, I'm going to share my unique perspective on this. Jen, you can disagree. I don't know. See, one of the things I have issues with is the designation of people who are woke. And here's why. To me, you've heard the term,
I say it in a totally joking way.
I know you are. But see, I want people to know this, and I try to explain this as much as possible because it's incredibly important. The reason why certain individuals, not you, Jen, specifically, but general other people, that use pejoratives such as woke, SJW, such, I don't think people tend to understand that people that use these labels, this is a form of deflection. This is a form of way for people to bat away and use as a scapegoat. Oh, these are just insane people, so I don't have to listen to what they're saying. And it's a form of deflection from actually trying to shut down discourse.
I have a lot of mental illness. You should listen to what I say. Don't promote ableism accidentally. I mean, I know that's their attitude. Sorry.
No, it was hilarious. I'm sorry. Hilarious. No, but and that's why I started embracing titles like SJW, because I'm like, oh, Kyle in the MAGA hat and, my dad will sue you shorts is going to use that against me. So, yeah, fuck that. That's what I'm going to be.
Yeah.
SJW is in my channel description. It's on my Twitter description.
Yeah, and that's actually where it came from. I didn't want to subscribe a label to myself. But then I started seeing all these fucking my dad will sue you khaki wearing motherfuckers being like, these fucking SJWs. And I'm like, well, now I'm going to fucking use it to piss you off. Now you're going to know exactly who the fuck you're going to target, Tyler.
But I do want to mention
your fucking orange.
Well, I overthink things, so I'm concerned about that that shit going circular and then bouncing back and continuing to escalate.
I absolutely agree. And here, let me just say this. So I
And now we're at the Nazi punching argument. Look at that.
No, but
Oh no,
this is
you can
actually-
punch Nazis.
Well, this is actually something
As long
a lot
as
of
no
people
one
don't know
catches you,
about
you're
you,
good.
Jen. But this is something that, in regards to, I did a lot of research on the actual origins from my own past as an ex-reactionary and ex-race realist and stuff. Based on my experience in this community, and as a member of that community, I will tell you this. This is again based on my perspective, but the description of SJW is a derivative of cultural Marxism. I don't know if you know that or not.
Really?
Yes.
Even a
Yeah.
better way to piss off
I'll
the
go
right.
over this with you at any time, but the term SJW is a Nazi terminology from the past based on the Jewish conspiracy of social justice mixed in with keyboard warrior. And I'll be happy to link you all the sources on that. I've shared this
Oh, we
information
need
with
to
everyone.
talk about this.
Absolutely. But I want people to understand that if you look at the way people talk about social justice warriors on social media, look at what they're saying. Social justice warriors are communists. Social justice warriors are degenerates. They're doing this. They're trying to push an agenda. Have you noticed that there seems like some type of correlation between that rhetoric and correlation?
They control all of media
Exactly.
and to push their agenda. Let me know if it's
Have you heard that before, Jen, in regards to it?
Well, okay. My family is called one of the alien races. So even the fact that I do identify as an SJW, I've actually had people be like, see, it's that hybrid alien race, and she's one of them, and she's pushing the media agenda. And I'm like, this fucking power is fantastic if it was real. Oh my God, do you really think I'd be looking to infiltrate Fox News if I was this fucking powerful? Like, no.
It's
No,
fine.
I would be a millionaire with like a harem of beautiful people around me. Like, no,
How do you get an
I'm formerly
application?
Jewish. I secretly have all the power. Oh.
Oh, there you go.
I can't even control my cats, like.
How does one get an application to the Illuminati? Because that looks like one sweet gift.
I didn't even know I was a part of it. I was just like, wow, thank for kind of banging the right people, and now I'm like the super elite with eczema, thinking it's scales.
What was that recent comment that someone made on the ACA on the show about the circle of atheists? Or what was it? What was that? The
inner circle.
Inner circle. I remember that. That was hilarious. I forgot.
And I'm like, the inner circle consists of us sitting there hungover eating fucking cold Domino's pizza. Like, it's not. It's not this, like, we don't have rituals or anything. Our ritual is like wine.
I'm pretty sure that me and Perfect
Papa John's is better tasting. I know he's a terrible the person in charge is a terrible person.
I think we think it's a cat. We think it's a cat that's in charge of the atheist inner circle because none of us can get it together enough to actually lead this shit.
No, but the really funny thing is, me and actually Perfect.
Thanks for joining the inner circle.
Must like cats.
No, but actually,
The inner circle can be found in the back index of your.
The atheist inner circle application is found on the back of a bottle of wine from Walmart. That's probably where you'll find it. That's probably where you'll find it.
So I want to.
I know they drink. No, go to Walmart, so I'm screwed. Well.
So I wanted to apologize real quick to Perfect. We're having latency issues with Perfect, and I really feel bad that we're having this issue. I don't know on whose end, but one of the things I wanted to mention about this inner circle atheist, Jen, me and Perfect had many interactions with the individual that coined that many times on the ACA Discord. We've had very interesting discussions with them.
Oh, I didn't know they were on the Discord.
Yeah, they were on the Discord quite often, but you can correlate with Perfect later on the ACA. He could tell you about it in lengths more than probably I can. So.
Oh, that I greatly enjoyed. I was hoping when I was on Talk Heathen that they would call back. I can't remember if it was Talk Heathen or AXP, but I was like, please fucking call.
Well, one of the things that someone came in, I forgot the person's name. There was a moderator on the ACA Discord from our discussions on this, but they actually did a flow chart based on the conversations that this person did, there was an actual you can actually go to the ACA Discord whenever you get a chance after we're done and look
I'm so doing this tonight.
Yeah, and so basically there was this flow chart that this person had made in reference to this individual's talking points and how he was kind of like doing the similar thing. Did you?
Whoa.
Perfect. We
lost perfect.
We lost perfect.
That was a glitch in the inner circle atheist matrix. Right there.
So sorry about that, guys. We lost one of our. I'm adjusting the live stream real quick so I can, because it does alter it. So we lost perfect. Hopefully he comes back and I'll fix it ahead of time. But yeah, one of the things that happened was this individual made a flow chart. He did a really great job. I forgot their name, but they did a flow chart on the ACE Discord of this individual's talking points verbatim, and you could actually pinpoint it. Where one person would, where one of the talking points would come into the next. So.
I guess what I'm doing tonight.
I'll link it to you. I'll try to help you find it.
I promised everyone my house is still outside of this room from the noises you're hearing. I promise I still have a home out there.
No, stop worrying about it.
I'm a little worried about what I'm going to walk out to at the end of the show. I'm not going to lie.
There is that. I mean, I have a child, just turned 18. So.
My son's 8, so he's at that phase.
So I guess we're kind of going to the second half of the show here, Jen, and we're going like a free-flowing round-robin discussion. And I generally come up with some really good questions to approach. So you mentioned something earlier that I think that we can hit on in regards to the definition or the topic of TERFs. Again, quote-unquote TERFs. So I guess my question would be, what is your general? I don't like to use the term TERF because it's bad optics in my opinion. I think I usually title them exclusionary feminists. I know that's what but the reason why I say exclusionary feminists is I try to do as much as possible to avoid giving these people arsenal and bad optics. So that's one of the reasons why I strictly stick with exclusionary.
Right,
feminists.
and I kind of hate using trans exclusionary because trans women are women to me.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So they're exclusionary feminists because we're women. So why are we?
I understand why some people would use this because there's also another version of it called SWERF. I think it's called SWERF, sex worker exclusionary radical feminist. Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have some problems with them bitches. Okay.
Real quick, so I guess the big question is, what is your general opinion in regards to this aspect going on in regards to certain feminists promoting exclusivity when it comes to transgender individuals? Do you have a?
You're not a fucking feminist. It's that fucking simple. You're not a fucking feminist. How are you going to sit here and say, I'm a feminist when you're literally excluding other women? Dude. No, that is the direct fucking opposite of feminism. Feminism is equality for women. So if you're excluding a whole group of fucking women, you're not a fucking feminist.
Well, see,
that's pretty much it.
Here's what they do. They're just like, trans women are men and trans men are women, and have like that attitude. Except that it's not an attitude that they actually act on either.
No, except when they put pussy hats on.
Well, the thing is, they go like, they start like, going further and further down extreme Christian attitudes, or stereotypical Christian attitudes about how women should be, and being like, women are only women who can reproduce or whatever. Those are the only real women, or shit like that.
Oh, real quick, if I can mention this real quick, if I can just mention this, it goes into that, Jen. I promise. Now, the reason I'm going to mention this, there was a recent video done from an individual by the name of Ariel Scarcella. I'm going to bring this up. So Ariel Scarcella made a recent video talking how she was leaving the insane, quote-unquote, progressive left. Now, one of the things I did a response on in reference to this, and the biggest issue I have when it comes to these individuals, these exclusionary feminists, is they tend to conflate biological sex with gender all the time. And one of the things that I don't understand with this conflation is they are saying that concepts that we typically align toward masculine and feminine are intrinsic to biology. And I'm like, how do you biologically determine a dress? How do you biologically determine earrings, makeup, and things typically associated in a culture to be feminine to the biological? How do you assign that? And that's a
You can't.
What was that?
The thing is, the brain is biology, and to ignore that and have some kind of weird dualism where you don't have to acknowledge us, I don't understand the brain. I mean, if the brain isn't biology, then I don't know what is.
Well, the thing is, it's not. I mean, the general movement isn't about biology. It's a repackaging of conservative Christian beliefs to the extent where they'll attack cis women as possibly being trans women. Essentially, attack the concept of like a butch lesbian. Say that like they say they're against. They don't have a problem with like gender non-conforming stuff, but like also, you know, don't be too masculine, otherwise you might be a trans woman. Which is essentially,
Welcome back, perfect.
Welcome back, perfect.
So I want to touch on the you can't be a real woman if you have children. I fucking love those bitches. I love them because they get on this whole thing with me and they're like, well, they're not real women because they can't, you know, they don't have the right reproductive parts. They can't have babies. And I'm like, well, I had a hysterectomy. So did I lose my womanhood? Am I no longer a woman because I don't have a fucking uterus anymore? And then they backtrack really quickly. And they're like, but you did at one point. And I'm like, but what determines reproductive parts? Every human being has reproductive organs. You're just the one assigning labels to it. And they backtrack really fucking fast. I'm like, so am I not a woman?
Yeah, well, the thing is they backtrack to like insane degrees and make millions of exceptions to their thing, because like it's just like, you know, for one thing, if you bring up an intersex thing, they'll either be like, don't bring up intersex thing unless you're intersex, or they'll be like, you know, that's essentially a failed attempt at a woman or a man, essentially.
Yeah, see, one of the fascinating things, kind of like bounce off what Alex is saying, is like, for example, me and Christy have a very unique perspective when it comes to our journey. Is she's you said you were, I'm not going to paraphrase incorrectly if you don't mind me mentioning, Christy, but you have one of the conditions of intersex, which is XX. Is that correct? Am I correct on that? See, for me, I'm XXY, so I actually have Klinefelter syndrome. This isn't, you know, so, and again, this doesn't do anything in reference to what it means to be transgender, though. That is just, this is one of the things that I have an issue with, that certain individuals within these circles tend to ignore these aspects when it comes to biology. They will think that everything's on the binary when it's actually a bimodal system by every class of biology. But
also, it's really funny when they're like, you're not an XX woman, and then like Christy, you just are like, oh.
Yeah, and I didn't find out. I was already on the trans journey before I found out. I had to have my chromosomes checked for my older daughter. Both my kids were obviously assigned female at birth. So.
And would you say real quick? I think I don't know if I've asked you this before, Chris, but this I think is a great question. Do you feel that when it comes to your understanding that it helped you clarify your own perspective in relation to your journey? I think that's a pretty good question to ask.
I think it's a very good question to ask, but I was already on the trans journey. Other than being able to throw down a trump card at the end of an argument, it's really affected my trans journey not at all. I'm still called a man in a dress, so.
And the astounding thing for me, and I don't know, I'd love to hear your time on this, Jen, is one of the fascinating things for me is recently there was a tweet put out by, what was that individual's name? Zuby, I think that's his name, Zuby. And where he states
I know what you're talking about.
Zuby's a African-American individual that does hip-hop music, but he's a big Trump supporter. He's a right-wing individual. But, one of the things that Zuby put out in regards to his comments is that women, if you want to, attract men, you should have long hair.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to put it up anyway, so.
No, but here's the fascinating thing.
I cut my hair short so I can attract more women.
No, but here's the
I have a partner right now that would wholly disagree with that, but sure, okay. He's probably watching right now.
But here's the fascinating thing about this, Ben. In regards to my own background in history, one of the things I love is looking at the cultural significance of each concept of gender in reference to each culture. If you go to Samoa, the islands of Samoa, for thousands of years in their culture, it was actually considered up until the 1840s, if you had long hair as a woman, you were considered masculine.
Yeah. And it wasn't until colonialism kicked in, Christian and Catholic colonialism kicked in, that set these gender standards.
Exactly.
Right. And women need to have long hair.
I'll share you the tweet so you can see that I'm not taking them out of context.
I have a partner who would I have a cis male gendered partner who would wholly disagree with that.
I think Molly Ringwald is my forever crush, and she's never had long hair.
No, she hasn't. Oh my God! I just had this realization as an '80s baby that Molly Ringwald never had long.
She never had,
and still does not.
This is what's going to keep me up at 2 a.m. tonight. When you're laying in bed in the morning.
There was another actress that I can't ever picture with long hair from the '80s. What was her name? Ali Schneedy.
Yes, she always had short hair, and it was always like that perfect pixie.
What's that?
I was thinking about Annie Lennox.
Annie Lennox too. That's another individual that's never.
Annie Lennox was definitely one of my exploring my sexuality. People.
And she's hot.
She's a great. I was gonna say she's a great person for that, but that's a weird statement.
Annie, I had to be 6, and I was like, okay, looks like I have to sit down with myself and decide. I don't even know what gender is, but I know not something that was talked about in my extended family. So let's go explore this. It was Annie Lennox and Tilda Swinton.
With me, it was Molly Ringwald was important, but it wasn't so much because I looked a lot like her. And somewhere when I was thinner, I looked a lot like Bowie too.
No, but you do.
Go figure that one.
Yes, you do.
So one of the next questions.
One of the exploratory. Do I want to sleep with her or do I want to be her? I want to be her.
Yeah. I've had that with a few partners.
If you go on my Facebook, my banner is actually me playing guitar at a show and with a Molly Ringwald cut. So.
Yeah, we could probably do a whole episode on celebrity we don't know if we wanted to be or sleep with. We could probably do
I almost said I've always been demisexual. I wasn't aware of demisexuality, so there wasn't really any celebrities I wanted to sleep with. And there still isn't, but so that was an easy thing of much more wanting to be. Well, I mean, I had very confused feelings, until I realized I was trans. So, in like early in my 20s. Yeah.
I think that's something that everyone in the LGBTQIA plus community can agree with, is that we all kind of come together and sympathize with our confused phase. And like we all just sat there and went, like, every time somebody talks about their confused.
Yeah, seeing Blade was a difficult one for me. I was like, okay, I just want to swim in his vampire eyes.
You know what fucked me up? The movie Troy and 300. Because I'm like, there's so many hot men and hot women, and they're all Greek and Trojan, so they're all kind of like weirdly non-binary, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now. I was like, there are beautiful male sex gendered and women sex gendered people, and they all look kind of feminine but masculine at the same time, and I want to sleep with every one of them.
You know what's
What
one
is
of the
happening?
things I don't see. This is a weird thing about me. Is have you guys ever heard of a person named Yul Brynner?
No.
How about you ever seen the movie The King and I?
Yes.
The old
Yes.
school King and I.
Yes.
I think that man is. I'm weird.
Oh, like I said,
I missed the movie.
So he was
He
in
cut
The
out
King
a
and
few
I,
times.
He was
What-
in The Magnificent
what-
Seven. He was in.
Yul Brynner. I got to see. I'm old enough. I got to see Yul Brynner do The King and I on Broadway.
But yeah, sorry. When it comes to aesthetics, obviously, I am very capable of being aesthetically attracted, although it doesn't mean as much as it means to some people.
Right.
When it comes to attraction, Brienne of Tarth is. She can Brienne all over my Tarth. I don't even know what that means, but like.
You know what pissed
I
me
wanna
off about that now? Okay, I am a Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones absolute fucking
I
nerd.
saw
Like, I
that.
have like I have the history books here. I have like pictures and wine bottles on my fucking like wall. You know what pissed me off? And it was more the writers than it was George R.R. Martin. You got Brienne, who is this amazing badass fucking woman, and she's like getting knighted, and she's fucking beating the hound's ass, and like I'm like, yes, strong woman. So what do the writers do? Oh, she's getting too strong. We need her out in a house coat in the fucking snow at 3:00 in the morning chasing toxic dick.
And I heard about that. That's actually a good question. So I heard, again, from different perspectives on different videos from certain individuals in reference to the actual producers of the show. And a lot of people are blaming the producers or the directors, whoever the co-creators or the people that were running the show, as the primary reason why the show Game of Thrones just went downward spiral decline.
Oh, absolutely. They didn't have material. I mean, fuck it. There's no such thing as a spoiler anymore, but they didn't have material from the book after Jon died. So they kind of were just off the rails with it. The one thing that they had material for was Euron Greyjoy, and they butchered that. Euron Greyjoy is that, you know, he's probably going to kill you after you sleep with him, but he's so fucking sexy and charismatic that you're probably going to try your luck anyway, kind of person. I know that I have this ability with me that I have to keep in check, where I'm like, no, probably not the one I should sleep with. But they made him a cartoon character too.
I would take a Brienne and Jon Snow sandwich. That's all I'm thinking about now.
No, I would do the Brienne and Tormund. Brienne and Tormund, I probably would lose the use of my legs for about 6 hours after the two of them. Totally fucking worth it.
There is
Totally worth it.
Totally worth it.
Real quick, I do want to ask this real quick. So I do have a couple of questions that we're. So
Sure,
I know you're
sure.
a big. Jen, I know you're a big Game of Thrones and of Ice and Fire fan in reference to George R.R. Martin. Now, in my correlation with that, I'm a huge Dune Frank Herbert fan. I don't know if you've actually.
Yeah.
So one of the things that the reasons why I'm a big fan of Frank Herbert is I would love to compare notes on this. Is how much are you? I'm not like, to be fair, I'm not very familiar with George R.R. Martin's work. I haven't actually read any of these books or seen a lot of his shows. So I'm actually, if I ever got a chance to watch it, would actually get a very unique take on it.
Don't watch season 8. Don't watch. Just end it at 7. Make your own ending. Don't watch season 8.
Why does
Fair
it
warning.
always seem like the good shows like Star Trek always end in season 7? I never understood that. But anyway,
I think 7's the magic number.
Well, this is why Straczynski thought ahead with Babylon 5 and had it only have 5 seasons. That way,
That's the way to go. That's it.
Although the 5th season wasn't very good, wasn't the best season.
And Watchmen, Damon Lindelof thought, okay, I've told the story I want to tell, now I'm going away.
Well, the question I want to ask you, Jen, as such a big fan of Ice and Fire and of Game of Thrones, what do you think that the overwhelming arc of the storyline or plot line in reference to what message George R.R. Martin was trying to convey? What do you think is the primary narrative?
No one's wholly good or evil. It's a human condition that no one's wholly evil. Ned, who was like the pinnacle of fucking good, right? Even he's seen as this adulterer who had a child on his wife. Now, we figured out in the end he didn't. Ned was actually like really fucking good. However, Ned was so good that he didn't want to see the bad in people and the lengths that they would go to in their ills for power, and it got him killed. I truly believe that if Ned stayed in King's Landing and played the game, he would kind of have this more duality. Everybody significant in that series is nearly good nor evil. And yes, we have some human beings like fucking Ramsay Snow. He's an evil psychopath. Yes, we have some of those. Ned is a really genuinely good person. But I think it tells the story more of the human condition. And it tells the story of being, sympathizing and empathizing and trying to understand why a person may do some of the things that they do. Yeah. Instead of writing them off as just a wholly bad person. And that's what stuck to me the most with that. I was like, you want to like these people, but they do bad shit. It's like Cersei. Cersei's a crazy fucking bitch. Nobody's gonna fucking deny she's an absolutely power-hungry, psychotic fucking bitch. But I'm a mom. So everything she did was in line for her children, to protect her children, to further her children. And there are times where I was like, I don't know if I could say I wouldn't do the same thing.
Maisie Williams character, which I'm totally forgetting her name now.
Arya.
The one thing because of the time and the way it was set up, and LGBT stuff was not like illegal then, because it only became illegal in the last couple hundred years. Mm-hmm. That there was only Arya for representation, and they kind of like pushed it off to the side.
There was other representation. We had Renly Baratheon, who was in the running of the War of the Five Kings, that was, outwardly gay, but not outwardly. Now, in the books, it's a little bit different. The show kind of really emphasizes erasure. In the books, when he died, his lover, Renly, actually took the Kingsguard because he couldn't fathom being with anybody else in his life. And he was like, this was accepted as it.
It's been so long since I've read it. Way back in when I first started in the music business, I wrote a song with Winter is Coming as part of the chorus, and because it was a fairly obscure book at the time. So.
Oh my god, I would love to hear that. I would.
It's very much rewritten now, but
still, are you kidding me? This is somebody I care about in the community that actually wrote a song called "Winter is Coming." Oh my god, I need this in my life. Like, this is a need, not even a want.
Real quick, if I can
I'll do the original at some point.
One of the new things I wanted to do in reference to our shows and having amazing guests like yourself on, Jen.
Thank you.
Is I wanted to have the opportunity for my fellow co-hosts to pretty much have a chance to ask anything they feel like they. See, that's one of the things I apologize to my fellow co-hosts that I didn't do last week. Is I should have done this, but I wanted to give you guys an opportunity if you have any questions or any positions or anything that you wanted to ask in regards to that. So, Alex, Perfect, Christy, do you guys have anything that you guys want to address with our guests? And again, that was my fault from last week.
Sure. So I don't know you the most, Jen, but that's partially because I didn't pay attention to ACA stuff until like last year.
I'm
so-
fairly new to the ACA. I just started kind of popping up on shows within the last 2-3 months. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Whatever. There was like a bunch of stuff that happened with the ACA. Like, whatever. That's a whole mess. What's your position in terms of inclusivity for some of the more atypical thing? Like, so like I go shoot by she or they. Like I consider myself real flex because like I'm agender half the time. But like, yeah, what do you consider more or you know, atypical pronouns, stuff like that? Like, some people are more inclusive than others. Some people have stronger opinions. I'm just curious what your position is.
Who the fuck am I to tell anyone what they can identify with? That's
the correct opinion.
Yeah, like I don't get the hang-ups on pronouns. I'm like, why is this a fucking thing? Like, this is how this person identifies. This is their identity. This is their core. Is it so fucking hard to call someone they them? I'm sorry, we learned this fucking word when we were like 2. This is not a word that we don't fucking know.
Yeah, well, I mean, and some people are just trying to figure out what works. I mean, there are people who use it's. There are people who use I'm very much unless I know ahead of time what you identify as, I like to ask people, hey, you know, before we start talking or before I slip, is it okay to ask what your pronouns are? Because I want to make sure that I am addressing you in the person that you are. And I think dead naming is shit. I think dead pronouncing is cruel. I think it's abusive. And I think it's a really smug fucking way for you to put someone down. No, don't fucking do that shit. People identify how they identify, and you need to respect that.
I'm just curious real quick, so I can ask actually the panel in reference to this, because this is actually a question that just came up. Do you guys, again, this is just me trying to figure out this is a basis of doing this, but do you guys consider, if you don't know someone's pronouns automatically, like you don't ask, and you're just introducing yourself to someone, is it wrong to refer them as they?
That's what I default to.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys consider that to be a correct mind frame to have? Like, if they don't tell you their pronouns, do you think it's also considered to be disrespectful to refer them as they?
I see they as they is like the word partner for me. It can kind of be like a catch-all for me, and you know, I'll have people, this is, you know, her boyfriend, her girlfriend, which is why I prefer partner. And I prefer partner when addressing people's relationships because I don't know. They, them can be painted with a much more broader stroke than sex, gender. So there are times where I'm like, I don't know if I can ask this person, so I'll say they. And I'm like, or
and
them.
I generally agree with you, Jenna. That's
that's how the English language has been used. That's they, them is used if you don't know a person's gender. You're supposed to use they, them.
Right.
I mean, and obviously, just because it has been used, like some people might not be comfortable with it, and they can say it, but like it's one of the terms where it's one of the safest. I mean, you could also go the other route, because usually if I'm talking to someone, I'm not using that person's pronouns. See, and you could do it without using a single pronoun, like that person or stuff like that. Right. But like, there's a lot of me just sort of playing things by ear.
Yeah, you guys have to understand. Oh, I'm sorry, because I'm older. I'm the older end of millennial, so it's my end of the generation.
Wait, how old are you?
This is a fun game. Wait, this is a fun game. Guess. I love this game. Let's guess. I love it.
34.
32.
Well, you said that you're the older end of millennial.
That's why I said 34.
36.
I'll be 38 in June.
Okay. I was about to get 37.
I'll be 38 in June.
You're older than me. Wow.
Yeah,
it's-
I am somehow the youngest person in this podcast. I went to the old person podcast. I'm 34.
But we still love you, Alex.
but you're our baby, and that's that.
Well, thankfully,
Hey,
Perfect's normally here because I just turned 55 last week. So.
You're kidding! One, happy birthday!
Yeah.
Holy shit, you look amazing.
yeah.
Oh,
Like,
Thank
I
you.
want to look this young at 50. I want to look this young now. What the fuck? Like, I have makeup on. You guys do not want to see what happens when.
I mean,
I actually don't because I had to clean up my
Yeah.
scars from.
But it's, the older end of millennials, we didn't grow up with the they them pronouns. And I'm noticing
technically
the
you
struggle
did.
between the split. I'm noticing the struggle between the split to where the younger end were kids when this came up, and then we're like, oh shit, we forgot those are there now. So I may slip sometimes because it's kind of this like, this is what I've been used to for childhood. But I try my hardest to be like, I'm sorry, I fucked up, and I notice it's a split usually about 35, 36 now. Is kind of where the older, younger millennial cuts.
My ex-wife, I'm in the unusual position. I have a trans child as well. That's one of the parts of the having the XX and being male, because it's likely that one of you, if you have two children, one of them is going to be trans. Kid came out about a couple months before me, but my ex-wife just avoided the issue of pronouns altogether for months and months, just because it was too much.
That's terrible.
So,
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. She was trying to be respectful, but also trying to figure it out, which is fine. I'm sorry. We keep talking over Alex.
I'm sorry, Alex.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that it wasn't like they them wasn't really popularized yet, or at the very least, I totally missed it in terms of popularization. But yeah, technically everyone grew up with they them because they them is like an English language thing.
Well, it's a word, yeah.
a little bit. Use it a little bit, because if you don't know someone's gender, that's always been a use that people
See, now,
there's like tons and tons of books where people
I
are
grew
like,
up a little
they
differently.
went to like the grocery store. You don't go like, if you don't know who the person's talking about, they don't go, she went to the grocery store, he went to the grocery store. They're like, they went to the grocery store. Like
I grew up a little differently. I grew up in the hip hop community. I grew up where I hate saying white was the minority because it's not, but in that neighborhood, in that scenario, in that culture, I was. And within the hip hop community, it's very hyper masculine.
Yes.
So there was a big importance placed on she, him. And
Gotcha.
being trans and being gay was seen as being weak. And in the way that I grew up, being weak could have meant life or death. So when it came down to even using the pronouns, they went to the store. It wasn't a thing. It was so hyper masculine when I was growing up that it was always she, him.
Gotcha.
So coming
Okay.
from us, yeah.
Well, Jen, if I could ask, like, I don't even know where you're at now, but like, where was this at in California?
Totally not there. New York City. I grew up in the projects in New York City, and yeah. And I'm an 80s baby, and that was, everyone tends to make the joke. I'm like, they're like, how well do you know hip hop? And I'm like, me and hip hop grew up together because we kind of did.
Real quick, so if you know hip hop, Jen, let me ask you this: what was considered the very first rap song?
Ooh, now this depends on who you ask.
Based on the style of what rap is, what is considered the very first actual mainstream rap
Wait,
song?
no, we could really like what style of rap are we talking about here? Like,
Just rap. Just general, like, hip-hop
I would
rap.
say anything from Fab Five Freddy. Anything from Fab Five Freddy would be my answer.
My answer would be Bob Dylan's Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Yes. Holy shit, somebody else knows that song and agrees with me that was the first fucking rap song ever fucking released was Subterranean Homesick Blues. That motherfucker spit. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Ain't nobody laying down bars like Bob in that motherfucker.
Blondie.
Pretty much.
Blondie. Now that's. See, here's the thing.
That's later.
Oh, you're going off of that.
No. There were White Lines had already come out.
Yes. And here's the thing where kind of the rest of white America was introduced with Blondie and Run DMC and Aerosmith. It was very different for me. Hip hop to me was introduced on street corners, and it wasn't radio play, but it was still there. So when you say Blondie, I'm like, that's late as fuck.
No, Blondie's like 76, 77.
Right, but coming from the culture.
Well,
and,
Rapture itself is
Rapture
is
itself,
81.
right? Was that 81? Yeah, but coming from the culture itself, that's when hip hop kind of
mainstream rap. Again, this is why I asked that for everyone's subjective.
Well, mainstream rap. You're talking. Wait. Are you talking about mumble rap? Because mumble rap, because that's if you're talking about mainstream rap, because mumble rap is like pretty big now.
I am going to share an unpopular opinion. Hip hop, as we know it today. Now, the earlier days of Blondie and Fab Five Freddy and all of them, it was very disco rock based. The hip hop that we know today came about from NWA.
I agree.
Yes,
fight me on this shit. Fight me, bitch.
I will not fight you.
No, I'm not going to fight you. I actually agree.
I will not.
Fight me. Like,
of course, there's always fight. There's always fight the power. So,
although obviously less so. I mean, music keeps changing. So obviously, stuff like mumble rap is a little less like the NWA stuff.
I can't get into it. I'm sorry. I'm an old school girl.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, it's okay.
Like, I actually sat down. I was talking to my nephew about this. My nephew's a big new school hip hop head, and he knows this shit. I mean, fuck it, I'll give it to him. But he's like, so what's the difference between your music and my music? I was like, my music's drug dealer music. Your music is drug addict music, sweetheart. That's the fucking difference.
I'm an emo punk, so you know, I don't disagree.
I mean, realistically, it's about whether the focus is the music or the lyrics, or the rapping.
Yes, and this is
mumble
the
rap.
right.
There's a lot more focus on the music.
Yes, and this is the right that I have.
The songs.
I grew up with producers. I still, fuck half of the shit that I use in catalogs are from my producer friends that are like, yeah, fuck you, we love you for free. It shifted from when I was coming up, we told the story. We told the story of the shit that was going on in the neighborhoods and the way the black community and the Hispanic community were being treated. And women weren't well, back in my day, we had Queen Latifah, we had MC Light, we had Rage. So we had this narrative of strong women that were coming up. And now I'm like, I'm sorry, what the fuck did you just say? Did you grunt through the whole song? The fucking beat is fire as fuck. Don't get me wrong. That beat is fucking amazing.
Yeah, well, definitely.
But I'm like, did you just bark? Did you just fucking bark in your song? Like, what?
Well,
one of the things I'm very... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Because
just really quick. One of the things I'm very fond of is nerdcore rap, which MC Lars, MC Hawking, it's very niche, but This Gigantic Robot Kills is one of the great albums ever made in rap. So one of the things that every time I feel like, okay, we have Donald Trump. This is like the worst thing. I just think there's a gay black man doing trap music who's on top of the country charts, so things will be all right.
Yeah, that, and I hate country music. I fucking despise, and I live an hour outside of Nashville. It's like, oh, way to torture yourself. I think I had to just be a masochist for the last 10 or so years just to say, okay, we're good. I want to support this song because this is a gay black hip hop artist on the country charts. I can't fucking bring myself to listen to it because it makes me fucking and I'm like, I will support you. I will not watch or listen to any of your shit, but I'm a fucking supporter and we're good. I just can't. And now it's in like commercials and shit. I'm like, it's like fucking Baby Shark to me. Like the Old Town Road is like getting to Baby Shark levels to me at the point. And I'm just like,
one of the weirdest things, he came out on Twitter, and I just happened to be on Twitter when he came out. So I'm like in the first 15 or so people who commented.
and you can still see the hip hop community grappling with this. You know,
yeah,
do we want
it's beautiful.
It's the grappling and growing up in that kind of environment.
I do want to mention this, that you guys, everyone has to remember that the way that we're going to conceptualize music in about 50 to 100 years, there's going to be such a mishmash of genres. If you look at music how it was in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and do a comparison nowadays when it comes to our perceptions of music genres, you're going to see a convolution or a conflation between the two. You know what I mean? You're going to see a mixture of rap and country. You're going to see a different conflations of classical. Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, there's already conflation.
I was going to say when
you don't even recognize it.
My son's starting to get like really into music now, like, and not baby music, but like mainstream music. And I was the weird one that was like the heavy hip hop head, but was the raver girl.
What?
Who was like heavy into trance and drum and bass and shit too. And I was like, you know, I'd have this playlist and I'd have that playlist, and now it's the same shit that my kid's listening to. And I'm like,
my kid and I are driving 450 miles to see My Chemical Romance. So
very nice, very nice.
You are the best parent ever. Like, oh my god.
Well, yes, I am, but
the best
one of the best lines
you have to play against my parents. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll finish and then I'll shut up. One of the best lines I saw on Facebook was, it's nice to see all these women in their 30s who love MCR as much as they did when they were teenage boys.
Yes! That is fucking wonderful! Oh my god, that is beautiful. Oh my god.
I
will now shut up, and I'm sorry, Alex.
That was gorgeous. That was gorgeous.
Yeah, I was just going with the parents competition because my parents were just recently they were the witnesses for my name and gender change at the judge office, so it's like really nice. They're really nice and accepting. So
Gen X parents aren't so bad.
Well,
Gen X parents really aren't so bad.
Wait, is Gen X baby boomers?
No, it's boomers who are the Gen Xers' parents.
Correct.
Yeah,
and then it's Gen X, and then it's Millennial and Z. Right.
When's Gen X from?
65 on.
No, see, it depends because my mother's 62, and sometimes she falls into Gen X. Usually, it's like six. Usually, the years are on twos.
Wait. Are you talking about what your birth year? What's Gen X?
From what I know, it was like 62 to 80.
Correct.
It's a lot of people call it 65. Well, a lot of people call it 65 because
my dad was born in 1949. My mom was born in 1958.
Mom and dad are boomers. Holy shit, you have awesome boomer parents. That's fucking amazing.
I know. I know. This is what they're hippie parents who converted to Judaism because they disagreed with Christian. They're like very agnostic.
What happened to the hippie generation? Like the hippie generation was like so free flowing and free love, and now they're voting for Trump. Like what the fuck happened?
We can go into that. I can give you a historical perspective on that.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole other episode.
I can give you a historical perspective on that, Jen, from my own intrinsic.
The only thing I had was as you get older, you get more conservative. And I'm like, really? Because I'm like building the guillotine out in front of my fucking, out in front of my house right now. But,
Yes.
but I'm wondering if it had to do with their
always
economic.
kept up with. Sorry.
I'm wondering if it had to
always
do with the
kept up-
economic growth during Reagan with them.
Real quick, I don't mean to be. So we're going for the latter half of the show. I do want to emphasize just one last thing that I wanted to ask Jen. It is a little bit off, but I think this is important. So there is this current trend I've been seeing pretty common on social media when it comes to specific individuals, when it comes to their talking points. And I would love to hear your perspective on this. So in reference to the transgender community, a lot of these individuals make this basis of claim that individuals within the trans community are denying science, that they're denying biological fact, that that the notion of a certain, maybe a small demographic of people that may be doing this equates the entire whole of the entire community. And I've seen this narration from, that video I mentioned from the other day, of how basically people are generalizing aspects of the fringe elements of a specific demographic of politics to represent the whole. And I just wanted to hear your take. What is your perspective on those that generalize or cherry pick small elements to signify the whole? Like, if you find a bad atheist, and then that Christian will point that bad atheist, for example, to be a signifier of the entire movement. I mean, what's your opinion on? You get the example.
No, first off, my fucking brain melted when somebody turned around and said that trans people are denying science. What? I'm sorry. Do you know what science is? Like, did you miss this whole fucking section of your education? Because now we're finding out that biological sex, born sex, is different than fucking. I'm sorry. It's a hill to die on for me. Like, jeez. I lose my fucking shit with it. You have to understand too that just because we're atheists does not mean we give up the traditions of faith. And that's Absolutely. A big thing that a lot of people have hang-ups on with atheism. All atheist means is that we don't believe in gods. We don't believe in higher powers. I see a lot of the time cherry picking in the atheist movement, which is a, fallback from fucking Christianity. I see a lot of hero-ing God worship in the atheist community that people who are coming out of their faith need to cling to kind of feel better about it. But yet they turn around and they're like, oh, but these Christians are cherry picking this. No, stop that shit. Stop that shit. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I subscribe to every fucking facet of atheism plus, because I don't, because there's some people I don't agree with. But you have to be able to sit and look at both sides. This is the part of everyone wants to claim, I'm a fucking atheist skeptic. Well, be fucking skeptical. Don't sit here and say this one thing makes sense, so I'm going to stick to this and then deny everything else. This is the same shit that Christians are doing when they're talking about gays being married is against Leviticus while the bitch is eating a fucking bottomless goddamn shrimp buffet at Red Lobster is sitting in a fucking poly blend after she just got her fucking hair dyed. Like, no.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. And we need to start calling out fucking members of the atheist community on this shit. We need to. We don't self-police often enough. I didn't laugh
so hard that I couldn't talk because they made me bust out real quick.
Because that's like the epitome of what fucking Kim Davis is. Like, I literally smelled the fucking shrimp parmesan sandwich on this bitch's breath as she was like denying signing fucking marriage certificates. I'm like, first off, Kim, I know that's Walmart hair dye. We know. Bitch, we know. And we know that shit is a poly blend. So please knock off all the bullshit. Like, no, we ain't doing this. We need to start self-policing in the atheist community when it comes down to people who are cherry-picking like this, who are digging their fucking heels in the ground and calling themselves skeptic. I understand that this is a small community. I understand that leaving your faith and then coming into this community and having that fear of if I speak out against somebody, I'm going to be pulled out of this community. You have to understand that these kind of people are also isolating people in our community. We need to start self-policing on people who are saying uneducated, stupid fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? The IR word that I can't think of now. Things that are creating isolation, irrational and ignorant. isolation points for their own ego worship, for their own cult of personality.
Yeah,
We have to start calling this out.
Before we do the wrap up real quick, see, one of the things I want to give everyone a chance to the only thing I would say is, see, one of the things that always sticks to me about going back to the topic of secular humanism. Secular humanism generally promotes a common understanding of promoting the well-being by being as inclusive as possible. The only time that we build when it comes to laws and regulations is only when we have some rational justification for such exclusivity in regards to society. And this is, I think, an important facet a lot of individuals who try to adhere to secular humanism sometimes forget. That's, again, my perspective, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyone else want to share their perspective on what was said so we can do the wrap-up?
Yeah, so I would say that similar things, just because I think this happens with every small community, because it happens with the LGBTQIA plus community as well, where people are called out always because for the fear of, like, well, you know, they helped me find out about it, so, you know, I don't want to isolate them, or I don't want to call them out because
you don't want to be ostracized.
Yeah, and you know, it works both ways too, because, like, you don't, I don't know, I think my brain just suddenly died mid-sentence.
No, but if I can just piggyback what you're
it's been
saying,
a long day.
if I could just piggyback what you're saying is, I think you're fundamentally correct that a lot of the people that miss, it kind of like missing the mark in regards to in other people's perspectives. Is that generally what you're kind of implying, Alex?
Well, missing the mark with other people's perspectives, but also, like, there are people who are follow cults of personality as well within the trans community. And, you know, that's, and I think a lot of times, like, the most dangerous thing is, the thing that worries me the most is bad faith allyship, because it's easy to be like, to see that, get hurt, and then, you know, not trust cis straight men or just, like, people outside of your community in general, and that's not helpful for having a conversation. Like, you need to talk to, like, I mean, not everyone needs to talk to people, and part of the reason I'm out is because I'm in a relatively safe space, and, you know, I want to talk to people so that they have someone trans to talk to. But I can see how easily someone can be like, oh, that person is a great person, get sucked into the cult of personality, and then once they get hurt, like, just start generalizing and not trusting people outside of the community.
Absolutely, and I've seen that happen a lot of times with... Sorry, my kids are wrecking my house.
So you're saying that...
It's okay. Oh,
you're saying that people in the trans community can show the whole spectrum of human foibles?
Yeah. Me especially.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
When you're talking about hero worship, it was a big deal when I met Dawkins. It was a big deal to me.
Right.
And right now I can kind of say, fuck that guy.
Well, yeah, it's you know, it's coming down to, like, with Krauss, with David Silverman.
Yeah.
These were very big, poignant people who absolutely were cults of personality. I remember looking at David Silverman and going, holy shit, this guy's a fucking con man. And how I feel on David is no fucking secret, and he's well aware of it too. Fuck off, you piece of shit. Anyway.
Yeah,
but I saw people who followed them in atheism be like, I don't know where else to go, what else to do, because my idols and who I counted as my leaders were pieces of shit. And this is something that we have to start calling out in the atheist community, as well as this hero god worship of these cults of personalities within the community. We're supposed to be promoting individuality, autonomy, and self-identification, self-expression, self-journey.
And
need
you
to
want
Yes.
to
figure shit
know?
out.
And you want to know one of the most fascinating things I want to mention, just real fast, that I've been seeing in regards to this trend is how so many people. I'm not saying I know that this is not the case, but how so many people who claim to be lifelong or extrinsic a length of time atheists all of a sudden are converting to Christianity. Among the skeptic community, well known. That can be,
Really?
we'll talk. Yes,
Yeah, we gotta
there's
talk
quite a
about
few. I can
We gotta talk
pinpoint.
about that.
Yeah,
We can go there.
I was just gonna say that. I was trying to call out problems with because I was trying to call out persons from a famous YouTuber and got a lot of shit for that. In terms of him as a person, a lot of shit for that. A lot of YouTube videos too, but like that. There was an 8-hour response, 4 hours, 50 minutes of front loading, a little over 3 hours on my 40-minute video, and 4 hours on a couple of tweets calling him out about other stuff. Front loading, which included stuff that I don't think he was called out for, which is always a good sign.
Oh, I love that. When you know
Where you're
that
just
little
like,
shit and you're like,
oh,
gotcha,
yeah,
bitch!
those people are, yeah, well, the thing is, after 8 hours, I don't think anyone remembers. Unfortunately, I mean, I have it all in VOD. It's just, like, the first 50 minutes was pretty triggering, and it's relating to my video, so a lot of it hits, and he was being called out by people I'm friends with, who I became friends with on his Discord. So it's just like it hits home a lot more personally, and I need to be able to step back. And there's a lot of stuff I want to do, a lot of other stuff I want to do as well.
Well, real quick, guys. Real quick. So I want to give. We're on the last 10. And I want to give everyone a chance to fairly promote themselves, because this is one of the things we do at the end of the last 10, 15 minutes of the show, Jen.
Cool.
Is I love to discuss with the people that are on the show. We usually start with give the guest the last word on it, give your perspective. But we generally just go over on what people are going to be working on next week. So if anybody is a fan or a follower of them, they can kind of go over. So
Awesome.
I guess let's go with this. Perfect. I know you still don't have a channel, correct?
Oh, I feel terrible.
I'll take that as a no.
Yeah,
Still
we'll
don't
take that as a no.
have. I missed the last part of that, so this is not going to work well. But no, nothing to.
Gotcha, perfect. We'll discuss it in the afterward. But Alex, do you have anything that you want to promote, or are you going to be working any projects next week?
Okay, so hopefully I can finally finish the detention center video. Like I went over it like a little bit. I did a little bit of work on it. I need to just get it done. Like I filmed it. I just need to get through like all the editing out that sort of thing. I'm probably going to have a response to ContraPoint's video, which is going to be relatively light.
Oh.
Well, because I kind of understand, like, I have a lot of criticism, but I also understand to some degree, there's some bad conclusions that she made that I understood how she got to them, so I want to, at the very least, point that out, even if what she did through it was, through making the video was terrible.
Yes.
It's nice in the sense that, like, I guess I understand how she came. I'm pretty sure I understand how she ended up making that terrible decision. Some of the terrible decisions in terms of her reactionary position. So hopefully, her reactionary attitudes. So hopefully, I can get both of those out on my YouTube channels. I do consider them to be concentration camps, but I'm still calling them detention centers in the video. That's going to be on my politics channel. The ContraPoint thing is going to be on my main channel because it's not so much about the politics, but it is, I tend to call out people more so on my main channel. Yeah.
And you also do
I'm
D&D
also in the dark, like everywhere: YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter. I'm talking to nothing, but I'm also Osmo in the Dark on Twitter. I have 2 Twitter accounts. The Osmo in the Dark one's the official one. I'm Osmo in the Dark on Reddit, which is like a very empty page. I I try to do. I'm trying to be everywhere.
Well, real quick, I just want to emphasize this so I can go to Christy. But you also do like D&D and gaming on Twitch. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I do D&D. I know I didn't do I basically missed all my Twitch this week. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff here, and I didn't get any sleep, so that fucked with my D&D, and just it's been a crazy week. But usually I try to stream D&D on Saturdays, and usually I'm streaming this on Twitch as well. That's live. Sorry.
Awesome. And again, if you're interested in Alex's or Osmo in the Dark's content, her information is in the description tab below, as are all the other co-hosts and our special guests. Christy, do you have anything you're working on this week? You said you were working on an interview.
I still haven't put that one song up, but that's okay. The songs are not important to this channel, my other channel, that is. I'm interviewing India this week, formerly the Sassy Atheist. She lost most of her followers when she reconverted, and we're going to be talking about that, and it really hurt her. So I'm going to be kind, because she's a really sweet lady, and I don't want to.
Maybe one of the things I'd be happy to do is because we're going to have a polytheist on by the name of Cologne here in a couple weeks. I see one of the things I wanted to mention, Jen. One of the things about this
Callan, actually.
It's Callan. I was going to say
it's Callan.
Well, yeah, you're right. So it's Callan. I apologize. Callan, I apologize. Don't kill me later on.
I love Callan, and I'm like, no, it's Callan.
Callan, don't kill me. No, but one of the things I wanted to mention, Jen, is this is one of the reasons why I love having people for different perspectives. I want to have conservatives on. I want to have people who maybe have a bias against trans individuals, so we can ask them questions, ask their perspective, and of course offer our position and maybe have some type of rational discourse. But what else? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to share that real quick. Christy, what else? Did you have anything else other than the interview?
Okay. I'm starting a Star Trek show just because I want to do something that is not trans related.
Fascinating.
That is awesome.
So yeah, perfect did the pilot with me, so I'm going to be doing the rest alone until we get to the menagerie. But so there's that, and I'm available to be interviewed or be on anybody else's channel at any time. Call me or text me. I'm there. I'm Normality Quake, one word on Twitter, and just search for Christy Abbey, CHRISTY ABBEY on YouTube. So I'm there.
And all your information as well as down the description tab, so everyone can link that. If you have anything working, I'm glad to link it after the show. I'm Ileani Clark. I work on random projects. I don't know when it comes up. This is primarily my main focus, but you can follow me on Ileani_Clark on Twitter. And Jen, do you have any? I know you work on Godless Bitches, and you.
Holy shit! I'm everywhere now.
You are.
I'm everywhere now. Godless Bitches.
Is there going to be any big projects you're working personally first, or then?
All right. I'm getting to it. I'll get there. Okay.
Gotcha.
Godless Bitches premieres the first Sunday of every month. For now, until I move down to Austin, and then we try to be doing every other week. So we're working on that. My channel is finally up. YouTube.com, The Atheist Wind Down, WINE. The series I'm doing now is a article that's called 8 Steps to Confront Your Wife's Sexual Refusal from the Biblical Gender Roles website.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and this second part is extremely infuriating, and I go full fucking tangent. So that is we're going to be bringing guests on soon, hopefully within the next month or two. And instead of the what's your deconversion story and why did you get involved in all of you, and why did you get involved in atheism, we're going to pick a topic. We're going to pick a current event social justice topic, so that instead of hearing the same debates and fucking stories from the people the influencers that you like, you're actually going to be able to hear their points of view on the issues you care about. I try to get the topics from my fans as well.
I'm just one question real quick, Jen. Are you going to be bringing the wine?
Well, if you're physically having the interview with me, then yes, I will provide the wine.
Is it sangria? It better be sangria.
It is whatever wine you want it to. I have no bigotry towards wine.
So if I ever become a guest, I have to make sure I ask to see if I can borrow some of one of my roommates' wine, just so I can have wine.
Wine is not required. I just am probably an alcoholic that needs to look into this.
Yeah, I don't drink at all, so.
No, it's not required. But yeah, I didn't want to do the same debate deconversion story. You know, people give a shit to hear about what their favorite influencers really hear about it. I'm on Twitch. I haven't been on in like 2 weeks. Twitch and Twitter are Jen Dragon Queen. I have been sitting around playing poker, fucking around and bullshitting with people, and apparently that's a hit on Xbox. We will be doing more serious games. I think we're going to line up the Ezio Assassin's Creed collection here.
I was going to mention, anytime you ever choose to, I'm a big player of Red Dead Online, which is a online Western game.
Yes, I know Red Dead, yeah.
Yeah, so anytime you ever want to play, they have poker on there as well. That's a big thing in the game. But
that's one of the series I'm looking
later.
into.
We'll talk later.
I got requested for Assassin's Creed. So, like I said, I try to take from my fans what they want to hear and what they. I'm on Twitter kind of often, Jen Dragon Queen, and search Jen Aldridge when atheist wind down on Facebook.
How do you have less followers than me? It makes no sense.
Because I haven't been on. I did Austin last weekend, and this week has been insane. So I haven't really been pushing my shit.
Everyone who's watching, go and follow both Alex and
Just follow
Jen
my shit. Yeah, follow our shit.
Yeah. Follow. The more interesting way to follow me is talking to nothing. That's talking to NOTHIN. It's what I assumed I'd be doing when I started Twitter in 2016, and then ignored it with no followers and no following for years.
She's a great follow.
She really is.
Well, guys, Jen, thank you so much for being
Thanks
on
for
our show
having me.
tonight. We'd love to touch base with you some other time in the future.
Of course.
I know you're gonna have a very busy schedule in the future. I want to thank all my fellow co-hosts. Perfect. I know we had the latency issue, but thank you also as well for bearing with it.
Thank you.
I have such amazing people around me. This is one of the greatest aspects about being in such a project, is being able to discuss with people, hearing their perspectives, and sharing with beautiful people such as your guys' self. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. And I learned a lot of different perspectives tonight, and I'm super grateful for that. Thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you for having us the opportunity to have us on, Jen. And everyone watching, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And we will see you next Sunday. We are going to be very fortunate to have Vadim, also known as Creationist Cat, on our show next Sunday.
Oh!
So it's going to be a great episode. So look
I'm so excited for that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and everyone say goodbye.
Bye.
Love you guys. And remember, identities matter, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all and prosper.